Human beings are social animals. Since earliest recorded history, humans have come together in large and small groups for many purposes. Human societies are groups of people who observe common rules and can be as simple as a family or neighborhood, or as complex as a country with many provinces. Societies form for many reasons: extended clan or family relationships, strong leadership, commitment to a common goal such as racial, ethnic, religious, linguistic, or cultural similarities. Plato, an ancient Greek philosopher, argued that it was human instinct to seek social connections to meet basic needs, and that people could not achieve happiness outside community. You might be familiar with the island analogy, in which shipwrecked travelers on a deserted island are faced with the problem of survival. It quickly becomes apparent to them that some form of government is required to solve problems of how to get along, make decisions, and distribute resources and power fairly. Governments are the institutions that make and enforce decisions for society. We agree to be governed because we seek order in the society we live in. Governments help solve conflicts between competing interests in our society. In order to be seen as legitimate and for people to follow the decisions it makes, the governments come into power because citizens have chosen it by voting, or they have agreed that the leader has the right to rule because of rules of heredity, and the position is passed down to them. In other societies, governments have to force their legitimacy by military force or coercion. Monarchy, democracy, dictatorship, fascism, theocracy, constitutional monarchy, communism, aristocracy, oligarchy, the number of different types of government seem endless. In the 4th century BC, the Greek philosopher Aristotle attempted to simplify the choice by classifying governments according to their distribution of political power. He arranged them in terms of governments in which only one person ruled, countries where more than one but not many ruled, and states where the majority of the people governed. Although the distribution of power is only one method of categorizing governments, power is an essential ingredient in almost every type of organization. In particular, it is the way in which governments gain and use their power that distinguishes them. By ancient Greek definition, one-person rulers were either monarchs or tyrants. Tyrants ruled for private interests outside the law, and monarchs ruled for the common good within the law of society. If a small group of the nobility or the wealthy held and exercised political power under the law for the common good, the government was an aristocracy. If a small group ruled for its own interests alone, outside the laws, it was an oligarchy. Government in the hands of many, exercised within a legal framework that prevented oppression, is known as democracy. In a democracy, the people themselves, through their elected representatives, decide how the government should use its power. Modern governments are usually composed of 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. The executive branch is usually composed of elected politicians. In Canada, this is the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Ministers who set policies, and the unelected bureaucracy of civil servants who help put them into practice. The executive branch makes decisions, implements policies and rules, and administers resources of the government. The bureaucracy is composed of employees who work in government departments such as transportation, foreign affairs, and finance. Often their appointment to these jobs is based not solely on their skills, but also on their political connections. For example, the Prime Minister in Canada appoints ambassadors and heads of federal agencies. All governments rely on counselors, advisors, and staff to manage and carry out government affairs. The larger the government, the greater the need for this kind of service. In a democracy, the executive relies on the lawmaking power of the legislature. The legislative branch of government makes laws. It may be selected by the voters from a wide range of choices, or from only one. In authoritarian governments, the legislature often does not truly represent the population, nor does it have any real power. The choice of who to vote for are presented in the form of political parties. Political parties are organized groups that have a common set of values and goals based on their beliefs about economic and social policies. In a democracy, voters can choose between at least 2 parties. In authoritarian governments, Voters may not be able to vote at all, or they have no choice in different parties or candidates. The judicial branch of government is composed of the courts. Members of the judiciary are usually appointed by the executive branch. The judiciary interprets laws and helps resolve disputes. European philosophers in the 17th and 18th centuries expanded on the ancient Greek notions of human needs and reasons to form governments in order to meet those needs. Complete the comparison chart task provided in your note-taking guide using the accompanying printed information about Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau and their views on government. In conclusion, when we are asked to think about which is the best system of government, we must examine the strengths and weaknesses of the various choices. We should consider and compare: how is power achieved? Who controls the power? How is power maintained and passed on? How are decisions made? What are the government's goals and ideals? What role do individuals have? How free are people to express their opinions? We will study closely the democratic form of government, as well as other forms of government, in order to make more informed judgments about what is the best form of government for societies today.